Back, guys. I am working on a cat that I got from Pixabay, Pixabay, free reference photos. And I'm working on this kitty, just an up close shot of its eyes. So as you can see, I've only done one part. I'm using the 60 pack of the Faber-Castell Pit Pastel pencils. That's a tongue twister. So, as you can see, I've already started, but I'm going to do the other side of the face as well with you guys. This is a piece of, I don't even know what this is, but people get them, you can use anything, piece of paper, glycerine paper, I don't know what it's called, glycerin paper, I don't know. But basically just something to let you put your hands, especially when working with pastels because they're dusty and they will smudge, and it saves your work as well. So that way if you do go over a little bit like I did so far, then I'm not putting my hand on it and ruining my work or getting it in the white areas. So this keeps it from smudging. I am using just a basic 8x10, I believe it is, or 8x11 mixed media notebook. So nothing special, not sketch paper, mind you, but just a basic cheapo mixed media, which is always good. My cat has decided he's hungry and wants to drive me nuts. So fair warning, I am using this eraser pencil by Faber-Castell. They're cheap, you can get them on Amazon. This is literally a dollar store. Hold on a second. What are you doing? Go, go. Anyways, basic dollar store pencil sharpener, because pastel pencils can destroy your pencil sharpeners. This is just a basic white kneaded eraser I had sitting around, and the colors I am using are, let's see here. Put them down here. All right, so for the fur, we were using dark sepia, Payne's gray, cold gray 4, warm gray 4, cold gray, warm gray 1, black, and if needed, white, but that's more or less just for in the catch light of the eye. For the eye itself, I've been using cobalt green, cobalt turquoise, some light ultramarine, some cobalt blue, black obviously, and as well as sepia, and we have a green in there as well. That is, I believe, the May green, and I also put some yellow of light chrome yellow in the green as well. But we'll work on the eye later. For now, we're just going to stick with these colors, work on this half of the face to get it out of the way, up the nose, over, and then to the other eye. So I am paying close attention to the direction of the fur, which is something you will hear everybody say, because you really do make or break your piece with the direction of the fur, and it can give dimension as to, like, you know, the face popping off the page kind of thing when you do that. So everybody does it differently. There is a white around the rim of most animals. There's like a lighter color here or something that differentiates here. So I usually start away from it and kind of ignore it at first. Underneath, we just have a cold gray one. And then I'm going to kind of go out. So if you look here, there does seem to be some markings. Not much. They're very light. They're more or less just darker grays. So what I'm going to do, is take this guy, which is the warm gray 4, and I'm going to sort of patch in these little lines. And all I'm going to do is basically the same thing I'm going to do with the sepia, but just more thickly in this area. So So right here, I noticed that there are hairs coming in from right here. It's a little bit thicker before it strays off and goes really light. So I'm going to just sort of give a basic idea. I'm not using this paper like I should be. And I'm just going to basically come in and do some lines in the right direction. They say really you should do it like this, where you start at the bottom of the hair shaft and move up. That way it has more of a natural wisp to it. And I do both because I'm stubborn and I like to make things difficult for myself, apparently. And I already need to get this better sharpened, which it does not want to do. All right, there we go. Because really you just need to have a sharp edge. Obviously turning your pencil like this helps when you move the pencil around, because then you're going to use every area around the paper, because if you're just using an edge, then you got the whole rest of the paper to work with. So we're just basically mapping in. Doesn't have to be exactly perfect where that open area is, the lighter area under the eye. And then right about here is when it starts getting thicker. So I'm just going to go over it more thickly. Again, this is a warm grade 4. And the reference photo is from Pixabay for free. They have great reference photos. But again, like I mentioned in my last live, you can go to Facebook groups and get great ones too. Great reference photos. So we're just doing that. We're going to come in with the dark sepia, like I mentioned, so it'll darken this area up even more. But for now, I just want to use this warm gray to sort of capture these faint markings that come in with like a lighter gray than the main gray. And you kind of trail off like this. And then we got one bigger one here that's not so caught in. And obviously when you're doing a reference photo, you don't have to do it exactly as, but you know, the idea is that when you're doing reference photos or what have you, you know, when you're drawing, you are trying to get it as close to the image that you're looking at. So I wouldn't worry or anything if you're not perfect at it. I don't think anybody is. And everybody does things their own way, and that's perfectly cool. But and you learn along the way. Like every video you watch, you'll learn something new, and you'll be able to gain some tips and tricks that you can share it too. So I wouldn't stress too much. It's all in the making. And then watching the hairline coming down from the nose. Right here, it's a lot thicker. And we're just going to do this more sparsely, just to get an idea. Just lightly mapping in hairs, just to create more depth. It's not really to fill it in. And same with in between here. So like I said, we're going to come in with the sepia more so. There is a lightness here, so we do want to capture that. And when it goes up the nose, it kind of goes on a slope, kind of a curl. And that's where you want to capture that, sort of like this, where it goes down on a slant and then back into the alignment with the other fur, because that helps create not just your shadowing, but it helps to create that look. So even though we're going in with the sepia in a minute, I'm just lightly creating that already. Almost like a guideline in a sense. Again, I blow my paper 50 million times because pastel is dusty. So what I'm going to do first here is I'm going to come in. Now we've got here the dark of the eye. I'm just going to sort of start here and break out into the nose area. So that way we kind of naturally come in as we fill in the side of the cheek. We can naturally just come in and not have to stop and do the nose later, so to speak. So again, I'm doing sort of those slopey round movements as I come into the nose to show how it's raised up off the face. A little bit lighter here. So again, I'm doing both, but where I want it more specific hairs, I'm starting at the root shaft and pulling up like that, just letting it naturally wisp on its own. And then it's going to come in and match up these hairs, but we don't want to fill it in to the point where it's as thick as this. So we're going to come in and fill that area in as well. So that way they still stand out, those little faint, I guess stripes, gray stripes that are on the kitten's face or cat's face. Okay, so just doing it lightly, as you can see. And then even though it looks, for the most part, almost completely filled in the same, you can still faintly see those, the area that I filled in a little bit darker earlier with the warm gray 4. So I'm going to come into that area now with the dark sepia. I do believe this is sepia, isn't it? Yep, dark sepia. Number 175. And just coming in like this. Again, starting at the root, moving up, watching the direction consistently of the fur line. So I make sure that I'm going in the right direction. It's more important to do that than it is to get the stripe the exact same as in the photo, because you want it to actually look like a face and more, you know, three-dimensional, not just sitting on the page. Okay, so we're just going to do a light little trail off there. And then again, the last one. And I'm just basically, I'm using all the same colors I'm using everywhere else. I'm just doing it in more thickly. Short lines, because short lines denotes short hair. If you do long lines, then you're going to make your subject look like they have long hair, which is great if that's what you're doing. If it's not so great. So, okay, so then right about here, there are some hairs. Now these ones are going to be a little bit more noticeable because they're more sparse. So you might be a little bit more picky with where you're laying them down. And again, being overly careful about the hairline. And I'm just going off of the gray of the under eyelid and just pulling it out. And I'll do the same here. Pull it out towards the middle, like that. So it still shows that sort of lighter curvature. And then we're just going to bring this in a little bit more above the eye. Okay, And then here, we're going to blend this in more. So we have the darker hairs here. And smaller. And then down in here. So I think what I'm going to do is bring in that warm gray 4 again. Where are you? And just slowly kind of blend it out towards the rest of the face. It'll also give a little bit more dimension to this area under the eye that is a little lighter than the rest. So blending helps in this case when you sort of pull from the color you have and then you just sort of lightly trail it off towards the color it's going to turn into. So again, here we're kind of doing a swooping down motion, but you still want to make sure you have those short furs. And this is still very dark and chunky, which is fine because I'm going to blend that in too. Just creating a bit of a curve there. Just blending it in to the rest of the lighter fur. Just gently, lighter strokes. So the higher up you hold your pencil, the lighter you will naturally make markings. The closer to the end of the pencil, the darker you're going to do that. So I tend to like to build up because one, it's less graininess, but on the paper, even though it doesn't feel like it's going to be, it actually does create in the end less graininess. But not just that, it also it lets you kind of test things out and see what you think. And then if you need to change something, it's not such a drastic line to work with. So I'm going to go back to the dark sepia, and I'm just going to focus in here so that we can come down into the nose. So I'm not going to put my hand down on the paper at the moment, so I'm not worried about putting that little sheet down, but I do want to be able to see the hairline, because even though it looks like it should be going up and more straight yet, it's not quite there yet on the piece. So it's good to double check that you're going in the right direction, because you may think it goes in one direction and it really doesn't. So, and that's very irritating because, like I said, it can make or break a piece. And if you start in small, like I said, like lighter strokes, until you know you've kind of got your placement exact, then you come in a little bit darker if you want. Or you can just keep going slow as well. So right here, it's almost like where this little hairline is, it's going to start coming in sort of crisscross, like this direction and then this direction on this side. So it's sort of a good way of knowing where I'm going to have to turn the fur over. But the farther down the nose you go, you're going to notice the hairs get super tiny. So you need to be aware of that, because you don't want to make it look, you know, cats' noses are short, most usually, like in terms of the fur. So you just want to do tiny little marks like that. And again, this is the steel gray or coal gray one, I believe, on the bottom. Just gonna double check. Yep, coal gray one on the bottom underneath. And then now I'm using the dark sepia over top, as well as the warm gray 4. Obviously there'll be other colors, but this is how I'm kind of mapping it in at first. Because I noticed there's some cream color almost right across here. So I'm going to come in with some of that. So see, now I've changed directions. I'm actually going to move the paper a bit so it's more natural of a stroke. Because if it's not, if your hand placement isn't the same going in that direction, you're going to feel it. in your hand, and you're going to make awkward stroke movements that are different. It's not that they'll be wrong, but they're going to be different than the other side, which, you know, is not what we're hoping for here. So this eye, or this side, I should say, I'm leaving right here where that area is and just going where I mapped in the steel gray. But the hair here turns, and this is where you need to be careful about what you're doing. You want to slowly transition it, and it's going to go back in the direction in my case, I don't know if you guys are mirrored, but left to right instead of going right to left. So it's going to slowly go this way. Again, just short strokes that aren't harsh changes. They just sort of swoop over time. So you can swoop them back. And I'm going from what would be the root shaft up. Swipe up. Just sort of let it go naturally, and that will give it more of a natural look. So this guy in the center here is a little bit darker and a little bit thicker than he is. So now that I have the basic idea of where I'm at with the kitty, we're just going to thicken this area in and bring it down. And then we're still going in that area, like in that direction of the fur. So I'm just going to pull out from inside the darker, thicker area, pull it out so it blends in, and then pull down like that. And then it's going to come down and sort of trail off like that. I might actually come in and lighten that up a bit where the hair is. And then there's a light line here, but it's darker than it's showing. So we're just going to go on the hairline again and bring him in. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. And then I notice there's this little dark, awkward line here where if it was obviously further back, it would be going towards the ear. So we're going to put that in too. And then again, a little, I always say they're like eyebrow hairs because they always tend to have a stripe in the center and like somewhere around the eyebrow area going up. Almost all cats do. And then they have this like baldy area right here that's like sparser fur, which I think is really cute. I never actually noticed it until, like on a cat, until I had a black cat. And I really noticed it on him, and I was like, my cat's balding in that area. And then I realized my gray cat kind of had the same thing. And it's actually common on pretty much every cat, but yeah. Yeah, joys of not paying attention, I guess, when you're young. So we're just coming in again, nice light strokes. I'm not even doing medium pressure. I'm not doing light, but I'd say light to medium pressure. My hand's a little bit further down than most people would want you to have it, because I'm fine with having the control over it like this. But some people prefer not to do that, especially when you're first learning, because again, it brings your strokes in darker. But sometimes that's what you want too, so. Okay, so we're just gonna blend. Speaking of darker areas, we're just gonna blend this one out a bit. Especially when you have a 60 pack or something like this, you're just not gonna have all the colors, like all the varying grays and stuff, and that's okay. It's finding ones that you do have that can blend, cohesively well together to create the same effect, even if it's not 100% the same. Yeah, because you just want them to work together, like to be complementary. So That's more the idea than anything else. So what I'm going to do is come in. This is not cream, I don't think. Maybe it is. Or is it ivory? 103. So yeah, this is ivory. And I noticed like right here on the nose and up around here, there's some almost like just like pale blonde wisps. So I'm going to create the exact same strokes I was doing. Very tiny light strokes. And I'm just giving the hint of that color throughout. You can do it before you start doing these darker grays, but you know, it's what it is. You do it when you do it, right? Helps kind of blend the grays in. It makes them look a little bit softer since cat fur is generally pretty smooth and flat in this area. So it kind of just allows you to keep those lines while still kind of blending them in nicely. Okay, and then I notice it goes up about here. So again, just small strokes from the root of the hair up, just a swoop like this, and then I'm just gonna come in here where I made it a little bit darker than I wanted. And we're just gonna blend out and in. So we just touch the darker color and swoop it out. We're not doing like a ridge line, we're kind of going like this. So it swoops up off the page. And then again, I noticed some here. So we're just working these in, blending them in nicely. And if it lightens some of the areas that you wanted darker, you can go back in and fix that. Just come back in and do another layer of that. So, I just need to fix the way I'm sitting since I'm sitting on the floor. So this actually comes up just a tiny bit. What I'd like to do actually is come in with the cold gray one. And I'm going to lighten this a bit. Because again, we can always darken it. I'm just going to kind of blend it like this. Just little swirly motions. Again, you're probably going to have to blow on the paper every so often just to where the second color gets laid down. It picks up some of the old pigment in its own and creates a nice little dust storm for you. So I'm just lightly going in over this, like I said, in little counterclockwise swirly motions. So that way it's not creating harsh lines, and I'm just sort of lightening this up a bit. I notice there's a bit of pink in this as well, coming up into the nose hairs, or where the nose hairs are beginning. Okay. And then I'm going to go down here a little bit too, because again, if it's not the way you want it, and it ends up being too light, you can just re-lighten it. I mean, re-darken it a bit, but I'm just sort of blending it into these fur colors that are swooping. And then I do want that little curve there. I'm just going to sort of go like this. It feels very harsh in comparison to the rest of the fur. So we're just going up like this, just lightly now, even lighter pressure. And then I'm going to see the pink that is there is almost like a coral, but it also looks like it's got a bit of cinnamon to it, if not beige red. I think beige red might be more applicable to this nose. So, I'm just grabbing some colors. So beige red is 132. Actually, we might already have them out. These are what the trays look like. There's 131. We need 132 and 131. This is coral for the nose. And then we need a 132. It's 189. Sometimes it won't look like the color you think it is, and that'll be the color, 132. This is beige red. So what I'm going to do is just make sure that they're sharpened, which they're not, of course. And then this may break. It's pretty loose. And then this guy, I'll give it a quick little. So what I think I'm gonna do, there is a little white in that too, so I think I'll come over it with some steel gray as well. But I think what I'm going to do is just lightly do those counterclockwise circular strokes right on the area of the nose. And we're just seeing the top of the nose. It's not obviously going to be the full nose. Just lightly going back and forth. I'm not too worried about it being completely filled in. Now I'm going to come in with this beige red and do the exact same thing, which will then fill up more of the layer of the paper, covering the white underneath. And just sort of soften it so it's not so bright. But I would like to get some of that up in there. There does look like a little bit of Caput Mortuum Violet as well. This is like super extremely light pressure because I don't know how it's going to look yet coming up into the nose. But the gray is also going to soften it. So starting it light until I see just sort of a little lighter area. And then you notice like an essence of that beige red kind of coming up into the nose area. So I'm just sort of giving it those hints. But I would like, there is a little bit of a darker gray line of hair right there. So we're just going to, we don't want it too dark, so I'm going to use the warm gray 4, not the sepia. And we're just creating a light line and then doing those little swoops where you start at the root and swoop up, but they're super, 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 super tiny. And just going around the actual pink of the nose, just lightly. Again, just blowing it off so I can see where I'm at. We do need to add a little bit of that steel gray. It's right about, it's more on this side. Again, I'm starting it lightly and kind of building myself up to see how much I actually want it to show. And then it seems to go down right along the center. So you'll see me turning my pencil, so I'm finding that good spot to get like more of a defined where I want the line, not just sort of splotched everywhere. I'm just lightly going across, sort of, now once I know where I want it, I'm just sort of deepening my pressure just a little bit, sort of a medium pressure. Okay. We're going to bring that warm gray 4 down around here. And again, just lightly stroking from that hairline out. And then we've got a little bit of hair that comes down on this side of the nose. Okay. And then we do have some darker areas in here. And instead of bringing in a dark sepia or something that might be a little bit too drastic, I'm just going to try to build up this warm gray 4 instead, because it'll give it more of a subtle blended look instead. And if at any time it doesn't work, then you can always go back in and change that and bring in something darker or do darker pressure. But again, the hairs on this area of the nose are extremely, extremely short. So you're just doing like little tiny movements like that in the direction of the fur line still, especially here, because this is important to create that roundness of the face where the nose comes up and out. But just going lightly over certain areas that are darker. Just gonna go back over even like with a very extra light pressure over top of that pink or that beige red, I should say, that I put down here. So that way it's blended in more, but there's still that hint of that pink. There we go. So you can see the little bit of the hint of pink. And you're just doing the small little movements in the direction of the hairline, but very, 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 very tiny. Light to medium pressure, because we're basically just giving the hint of it here. We don't need it to be harsh. And again, if you feel your pencil is getting a little too soft or not showing the marks at all, you can just twirl your pencil around. And before you go ahead and sharpen it and see if there's more that you can work with here. So patience is a virtue when it comes to this. And I am not one for patience. So, okay. So now obviously we've got this whole eye and this section to do. I'm going to do the eye first, so that way we can move downwards. And then, you know, then I can blend this more in, that kind of thing. So that is going to be what I do next. So around the outside of the eye and sort of the swoopiness here, which I've got to thicken, I start off with the sepia, dark sepia. And then I move into the eye and around the inner line of the eye with a dark indigo. And same with the pupil. And then we're going to come in with the other colors. So I'm going to move this tray over a bit so we can see what we're looking for here. So again, now that we're coming to the eye, we're going to need some cobalt green, number 156. We are going to need this, the 140 light ultramarine. So I'll grab that while I'm at it. So we are looking for cobalt turquoise, cobalt green, 153, 156. 153. And I believe this guy is, this is not the one I'm looking for, actually, sorry. This guy is, so I believe 157 is the dark indigo, which I'm going to place here because I'm going to use it almost behind the black. And my hair wants to get in the mix because it's long. So this is the cobalt blue, which I'm going to bring a little bit of this into it as well. And then I believe this is the other color we're looking for. Yes, cobalt green. And then we're going to need a bright green as well. And this is the May green, number 170. So I'm going to use this. And I'm also going to grab a yellow. which I believe is going to be the light chrome yellow 106. And we're just going to bring this one back. 106, which I believe is this guy right here. Possibly. Nope. Where are you? 106, light chrome yellow. So then I'm just going to move these guys to the side. And we're going to be using these again for the rest of the hair, but I'm just going to sort of move them to the side so we don't have to worry about those. The pink we don't need so much to worry about right now. Helps your sanity if you don't have 50,000 things in the way. So I like to kind of clean up as I go, in a sense, just so I can have some sanity. We are going to need the black in this case, so I'm going to grab that now as well. Oh, that's not the black. Where is it? Do I have the black out already? I've been getting it so dusty. Where is the block? There's the blue. Well, that's odd. The black for the memento is missing, which is kind of strange. So, it might be hiding. It's got to be hiding around here somewhere, so these are going to be the colors we start to work with, but I am going to start regardless with the dark sepia, which is number 175. So I'm going to put this other one away since we're not going to need him. And that's the Payne's Gray, I believe. So I'm going to leave him alone. Put him back. Okay. It's very odd about the black. Very, 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 very odd. And then we're going to just set the cool gray and the warm grays over here for now. And that is irritating me about the black not being there. It's like, where are you? But okay. Anyways, we're just going to go back around the line I already created. Just creating more of a specific line. It gets very light right here, so I'm just lightening my pressure and just doing a nice light swoopy line around. And then a little bit darker pressure, not much, and just moving the sepia out and kind of creating this dark area above the eye. And then we're just slowly going back over it with that light to medium pressure. And then we can bring it out right about here. And we do have a darker area right in here of the fur, so we can kind of blend that in. It's more muted, almost blurry, so we'll blend that in with some warm gray after, but I'm not worried too much about that specifically just yet. I sort of want to map out what it is I'm looking at first. And then, again, this is lighter, so I'm going to want to lighten this up a little bit when I come around with that color. So I'm going to do that now, actually, right here. The warm gray 4. I'm just rounding it a bit first. And then I'm going to come in with that steel gray 1. And harder pressure, I'm just, more medium pressure, I'm just softening this line a little bit because it's gotten too dark for my liking. I might actually come in with this pencil. So it's just a white eraser pencil from Faber-Castell, and I like it because of that figure, that part of it right there. So you want to be careful though, because when you're erasing, sometimes you're actually moving the lines in, like pushing the color around. So, or you're actually, pressing so hard that you get rid of the tooth of the paper, which is like the ply of the paper that holds the color, and then you're even more screwed because then you can't lay color down. So I'm just very lightly pressure coming around here, and that's it. That black is going to drive me nuts that I don't know where it is. I'm one of those people where I know where my stuff is. And I'm almost wondering if I didn't accidentally pack it with my pencil crayons earlier, but that doesn't really seem right, so whatever. For now, we'll try to be a little less weird about it. So we've got the pupil right here kind of off to the side, and I'm taking the dark indigo. I'm just going to start at that little... See, I have a guideline there, and it's not the way it goes on the photo, so I'm actually going to ignore my guideline to a big degree and start again, because the pupil comes up almost right to, goes right to the eyelid here, comes down, and then we have a catch light, which is like the reflection, so I'm going to ignore that area and bring the blue indigo here. And then, I don't know what I'm doing there. I'm doing some weird swoopy stuff there. And again, I'm doing those light counterclock motions. And I'm going to lightly mark where the catch light comes in to the pupil and just ignore that section. So again, light counterclock swoopy motions. I'm trying to find a more pointy area so I can be more specific where I'm doing this, because I might screw it up otherwise. Like I just did there. And then I'm just going to round this a little bit more. It's more rounded than I have pointed. Okay. Okay. Now, it looks just like a basic blue eye, but it's not. And this is where the white can come into play too for blending. So put that out. But what we're going to do is, if you look up close, there are some greens, yellows, obviously the catch light, and it gets like a light gray in the catch light, so I might actually do that steel gray one there, just a little tiny bit, but it blurs. And then there's a darker blue around here, and almost around this area of the green, and the green actually pops up there. There's some dark blue there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this blue here since we don't need it for now. Oh, there's the black right there. For God's sakes, I'm blind. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with this darker blue, which is specifically the Cobalt Blue 143. And I'm going to do, because it's nice and sharp, I'm just going to do a light area. I'm doing light pressure. This is very pigmented, so it may look like I'm doing dark or heavy pressure, but I'm not. I'm just doing it lightly there. And I know it seems weird to create these little marks, but they really do make all the difference. And then I'm going to come right along the line here, because there's a lighter area just above this that's almost got white through it, or like a gray. But there is a little bit of dark. And if you don't get it perfect, which you won't, that's more than okay. And we are going to be blending as we go. So we're going to have to darken up these areas again, but it's almost like in the sense of the other where we're mapping it. So then I'm going to come in with the next blue, which is the Helio Turquoise, so blue-green color. And where it kind of gets a little bit lighter up here. This pencil is not as sharp, of course. I like to make things difficult for myself, apparently. We're just going to come in here. No, it's irritating. I need to get it a little bit sharper. Okay. Just want to get like a ridge that is, there we go, that is a little bit pointier there. So we're just looking again on the photo and getting sort of a basic idea. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect because it won't be. It kind of comes down here like this a little bit. And we'll be darkening this up a little bit more because it is shadowed, obviously, under the eyelids a little bit. I'm just going to bring this down a little bit more. And then we see a little bit where the green's going to come in. So very lightly I'm putting helio blue there. And then we'll hold this off until we do some more, like around the eye, until we get the green and yellow in. We're sort of doing it very light pressure again because it's highly pigmented. Roughly the shape as best as you can that you see, where it's just a little bit darker. And it's going towards the catch light a little bit. And then it comes up a little bit darker gray there. So I'm just going to grab that dark sepia again and darken this area. So we don't have to worry too much about that. And then we can take that blue that we had there, just sort of make it a little bit more gradual into the corner. Okay. Then we're going to take this green, which is, again, the 170 May green. And we got to watch that catch light, but it is swoopy, circular motions. In my case, I'm going counterclockwise. And then down. Again, start light pressure and build up, so that way you're not wrecking your catch light. Or if you get it wrong, you can fix it, like something you really don't like on it. And then it kind of comes up into this blue here, very faintly, and comes around like this. Try to be careful of not dragging the color out of the darker area, because that will kind of take away from the brightness. It's impossible not to do sometimes, especially as you get closer to the line, because you need to have the line. But now this goes almost right over that blue, so I'm going to go in with it over the blue that's above the top of the eyelid. And then if you're looking up close, you can see where it kind of goes out. I'm going to do extra light pressure, where it kind of goes out like this. Just gonna, right here, like that. And then again right here, it's like a weird little line here. Okay. Then we're going to get the yellow. And this is yellow glaze. You see some areas where it's lighter and more yellowy than the green. So we're just going to go right over top of those sweeping circular motions with the yellow on top of the green, just where it's brighter and you'd like to kind of brighten it up so it's not all one drab, boring green color. You're kind of mixing it up and it'll give it oomph. Okay, I'm doing a little bit. I'm still doing light pressure, but a little bit harder. It's not extra light pressure anymore. And again, into the blue, very lightly here. And it actually looks like there could be a little bit right there, faintly. I'm just making sure we got it all. And it looks like it might be coming down here. So again, it doesn't have to be perfect, but making the effort to do these little markings will make your eye pop huge. So next I'm going to use the light ultramarine, which is going to be too dark off the hop. It's going to be too dark. I don't have a blue that matches this eye color. So this is where we're going to watch that catch light for one. Slow circular motions. We're going to start off by filling in the areas that haven't been colored yet softly when you hit around the other colors. And we're going to kind of do this, and then it goes right out to about here. So we're just going to kind of lock in what looks like the same catch light, and then we're going to do a little bit more with it because it does have some color to it, the catch light, in certain areas. So we'll come in and fix that and like color areas that in and blend it in as well. But for now, if we can, the idea is going to be to ignore it entirely, because there are certain areas where it looks pretty white, and I would like to capture that. So I'm just slowly swooping my pencil around here, and it comes up, it's almost like a line right through it where that yellow meets the blue, or the green yellow. So I'm going to do a very faint line like that. Okay. Just sort of like that. And then again, we're going to come in with just light pressure. Doesn't have to be extra light, but light pressure. Circular swirly movements. Clockwise in my, whatever feels good for you. But it just helps not create some harsh lines. And it allows the blending process to be better, especially when you know with this one you're going to need to. So I'm just trying to avoid those areas as much as you can that are already colored. It's okay if you catch it. It's not a big deal. And then I'm just going to come up from here. And again, like I said, there's some areas that are really light in the blue, like almost looks like they have like a white or a light gray through them. And we'll get that too in the blending process. So for now, we're just lightly putting the blue in. Like that. And already you can see how it's popping up off the paper. But we're going to make it pop even more, because as you can see, this is more of like a greeny blue. So we're going to lightly come in with the white and blend it. Even in these darker areas, we're going to start off with this blue and just do those a very, very light motion, because it is lightening it, avoiding the catch light as best as you can. Just sort of like this. And it's going to get rid of that white graininess, which is like the little white spots you'll see. Just sort of doing this. And then we'll come up into this blue. So like I said, we'll have to darken up certain areas, and that's okay. We're just sort of going from lighter to darkest, and then I'm actually going to blend in the yellow and green with those specific colors, so I'm not so worried about blending those with the white. Just sort of getting in here, trying to avoid that dark indigo blue. And then again here. Just blending. We want it to be soft and glassy. So again, we're just going along this line where I put the darker blue there, the helio blue. Okay. And of course it's lighter now, which is beautiful, but not exactly where we're going to end up. So we're going to come in with the green again. And we're going to do basically the same idea. And we're going to do it as a way of blending it without having to use the white and risking it coming too close. So we're going to go right down into the yellow, very light pressure, counterclockwise circular motions. And we're just sort of trailing it out towards the blue, lightly, and blowing the color, the dust, as I go. And we're going to come in again with that yellow. And this is going to be extra light pressure, sort of peeking through. That. And then again up here. Okay. And we can probably put these two to the side for now. We're probably not going to need those. And then we're going to come in again with the 145. Where are you? Oh, sorry, the 143 Cobalt Blue. And we're just going to bring in some of those dark lines again that we had originally created here softly, because we don't need to put as much pressure down this time, and it will naturally blend in to the rest of the colors, so we don't want them too harsh. So very light pressure. And it came down like this a little bit and over, and then came down here too a little bit. I'm going to add it, sort of miss that little light green area, and then it comes down around here. Extra light strokes because you don't want it to look liney. You want it to kind of blend as a natural glassiness of the picture with the glassiness of the eye. Okay. And then I'm just looking. It looks like it comes down right here. So extra light pressure. Swirling it just lightly down to meet that color. And this one seems to come down like this. And then again, we're just going to lightly go around the rim of the eye and sort of swoop it off lightly into that gray that's below the eyes, so it just naturally goes in there. And then we're going to take this one again, number 153, Cobalt Turquoise, and we're going to come in a little bit more with these areas here. Again, extra light pressure, because we don't want it to create lines and then just have to blend it again, which does the same thing. So I'm just sort of blending it in to the colors around it, the blues around it, avoiding that catch light, of course. And it sort of gives it the distinction of that, of the shadowing below the eyelid. So again, here, we're going to do that here. Now there is a little bit of light blue that comes between the green, the purple, and the blue, so we're just going to avoid that. But then it comes back around here just a little. I apologize for my hair. It does what it wants. Okay, with just light circular motions. And then a little bit below the catch light, again, just right here. slowly coming in towards the catch light and the yellow so I don't blend them too much. Okay. And then I notice that it seems to come down right around where the green is here. I'm actually going to, actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bring in this one, if I can pick it up, which is a 156 Cobalt Green. And I'm just going to go lightly over this area that's a little bit lighter here. And then here to brighten this up, it's a little bit lighter. Not much, just to give it a little bit more funkiness. And then I notice that it is coming around the yellow and the green. So I'm just swooping lightly around it so that way I hopefully don't go right into the color. I might need to use a darker blue actually for that, but we're still gonna try her. So I'm going around this area to here, and then again just swooping kind of as I get closer to the yellow-green color and going around it a little bit like this, sort of capturing it in. And again in this corner. Moving my way in slowly. Okay. It's almost like we're circling the color, the yellow color now. So what we're going to do next is go in with a darker blue, which I'm going to come in with that indigo blue again and do a very faint line around here that you can see around. Basically, it's encasing the yellow green. And just a very faint line to about there. And again, if it's not dark enough, like mine isn't, then you can slowly just keep doing it to build it up slowly until you get it the darkness you want, and then it's very faint right there. Okay. And then we're going to come in with a little bit of that blue, more or less to make marks here. We're going to come in with that blue, and we're just going to sort of blend out that darker blue just a bit so it's not quite so liney looking. Looks like it's part of the eye. Okay. And it goes into here a little bit. And right here. Okay. Then we're going to take the steel gray one, and it's very lightly, light pressure right here. We're just gonna give a little light, like kind of a steely gray, since steel gray one sheen there. And then we're going to do it in this area as well. And you can blend it out as much as you like, or as little. Trying to keep a consistent pressure so it doesn't look like I'm just creating harsh spots and areas in the eye. And then what I'm going to do is, in that catch light, there's like a really light blue sheen to it, which makes me nervous, to be honest with you. I'm going to sharpen this coal gray one. I don't know why I always call it steel gray. And what I'm going to do, where it would be in the actual pupil there, I'm going to make it this color. So I'm going to try to avoid the white area where the green and yellow is and go in this way. And of course you might pick up some pigment, so try not to. Just faintly give it an idea that it's the pupil being shadowed by the catchlight or by the reflection. And then over here, it's like a blue. So but it's very faint, like extremely faint. So what I'm gonna do is get my white again, which feels counterintuitive because it's already white. But what I'm going to do is go over that white area so it's already going to come on lighter. And then I'm going to take, I think I'm going to take this blue, the 140, is it a light ultramarine? And on this side of it, I mean barely touching the paper, I'm going to mark in blue. In that part of the catchlight. Not in the center part, but right here. And where that white was laid down, it's going to lighten it even more. But if you find it comes out still too dark, you could go back in with the white over top again and soften it just that much more. So I'm done with that, with the actual coloring of that. What I'm going to do now is come back in with the sepia and the dark sepia and go around the eye, because obviously we've been coloring around it and over it and all that jazz. Again, lighten here, and it gets darker again. And then we're going to just try to avoid where we brought that dark blue in there. And then on this side, it's pretty light again until we hit about here. And then we're going to press a little bit more firmly. And now we're going to do the exact same thing, but with the black, especially now that I actually know where it is. So we're going to come in where this little eyelid is and carefully move towards the rim of the eye. And I'm just sort of doing that hair motion where I start and I swoop out, but I'm being more controlled with where I swoop. And I'm moving my hand further down the pencil, so that way I have more control of it. But I'm also, since I'm going to be not doing extreme hard pressure, but I'm not doing light pressure anymore either, then I can have more pigment going down, since this is going to be the last layer, I believe. So we're going to come here, and again, light pressure again in this area until we get down here. And then again, I'm not going to go into where the gray is underneath the eye. I'm going to go in between the coal gray one and where that dark blue was placed with the black. So it's going to still have that gray for the most part. The sepia, oh, for God's sakes. Yeah, the sepia gray. Still going to have that. But the line around the eye is still going to be black. And then again, we go lighter, and we get to the edge here. And then, for the one last step, this is irritating me, we're going to go into that pupil where we put the dark indigo, and now we're going to put it black. Obviously avoiding the catchlight, trying to be careful of not going out of our lines too much, which is impossible for me not to do, but I'm going to attempt not to do that. And we're going to bring that black in. If you can, with with circular clockwise or counterclockwise motions, I'm kind of going in and doing the lines, like the swoopy lines. And there you go. We've got that eye done. And then now we can come in and build up the rest of the face, which is going to be bringing in some, I'm going to bring in some, I'm just going to move these out of the way. We don't need them. And if anything, especially it's dark indigo, you can grab it unintentionally, which I've done, and start coloring with it when you don't want to. Okay, so I don't think we're going to need this or this, so we're just going to put this away. Okay, so we're going to come in at first with the Warm Gray 4, and actually, yeah, it looks like it right about here, just light strokes from the root out in the direction of the hairline. We're just going to make this a little bit darker. And then we're going to bring some of the hairs swooping downwards into that little, I guess, eyebrow area. I don't even know what you call this area, but... And then we're going to bring them out from the eyelid that we just colored in black. And do the same, very light pressure. Just like that. So if you're still going to see the steel gray one in behind it, or whatever, cold gray one. But this way it still gives it that little bit of color. So in here, we're going to come in and start looking at the hairline again. And it's going to go out this way and down this way. So I think what I'm going to do actually is start here and do this part first. So that way, if I get on a roll, which I probably will, I won't lose that. And then that's going to be a bit darker there. So once we get that right, I'll bring in a little bit more darker. And I'll do that as well with the dark sepia, come in again. But this way we're kind of mapping the undercolor. Or an extra undercolor, since we technically already have it. And then again, we're going to swoop out in the direction of the hairline. And bring some of this down. And this looks pretty full. So we're just going to go over this a little bit more. Like that. And then, again, we're just going to come in and do short, swoopy motions in the direction of the hairline. And blend them into kind of the line of them you did before. And then instead of having stripes that are darker on the side, they're almost lighter. So we're just going to come in again to this area. Just to fill it in a little bit more. And then again here. Then we're going to stop there so we can create this lighter area. Remember to swoop down the nose to create that essence of the raised nose off the face. Okay, I'm just sort of doing this. It's a lot more blurrier on the side of the face in the photo than it is on the other side, where we're starting to lose focus. So that's why I'm doing shorter, more clustered hairs, so it gives it more of a blended look than very distinct fur markings, because you don't want it too distinct, otherwise it won't look at all blurry. So we're just sort of going in like this. Again, when we get here, swoop it down, and we're doing a start at the root, pull in the direction of the hairline. And then we're obviously not going to leave this totally of just the cold gray one there, but we're just sort of filling this in so that when we do bring it in here, it's not too blended in where we lose what we're doing, the work we did. Just moving my pencil around in a swirl till I find the spot I like. And again, we're just doing sparser hairs here to denote where it's lighter on the face, going in the direction of the hairline. And then what I'm going to do, I'm just going to, this is more like this. I'm going to blend these in a little bit more. By blending, I just mean by bringing in more hairs so it gets softer instead of looking very distinct. So it looks more blurry in a sense. And then if you notice under the eye, there's very faint lines coming off the there. So what I'm going to do is just fix that mark right there anyways. And then we're just going to do, like, just, I mean, you're barely even going to see it. We're going to do those swoopy lines where you pull out from the black and gray mix here that we did. But just very, 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 very faintly. Extremely, extremely faintly. So it feels like you're not really doing anything at all. And it'll blend those edges that are so dark. Okay. So that's all we're going to do with that. And then here, we're going to see where it gets darker. And we're coming in. This is the dark sepia. Sorry, I didn't say that when I grabbed it. And we're going to come in and do kind of like a triangle. Again, we're swooping. There is a bit of a curve to this kitty's nose. So we're going in the direction of the fur line, just really, 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 really tiny marks. So just sort of doing this and going in the direction of the fur. And then this sort of comes out a little bit like this. And then there's another one. Comes out very faintly right about here. And then we're going to take this, just sort of blend it in a little bit better because it's irritating me. And just soft strokes there. And this isn't exactly like the photo because you'll see the white there in the photo at the edge, but I like this. I like the way it looks. So you don't feel the need to remove it. And we're just sort of filling this in with a little bit of dark sepia by the nose. Just lightly catching those stripes. They're just faintly there. Again, here. Just sort of picking and choosing where I see it might be a little bit darker in a certain spot, but just sort of sparse hairs randomly like that. And there we go. I would say this kitty is done. We can put the two up together. A reference photo from Pixabay. There you go. Make sure to follow if you enjoyed the video. Like, if you want, click share. I appreciate it. Make sure to check out my links to my Facebook and my website and all that jazz. Alright guys, take care.